Welcome to part 2 of the Dagr pit light instructions. For part 2, we will begin by building the left leg. For this part of the build, you will need rails G, H, and M. For tools, we will be using a combination square, calipers, tape measure, metric hex wrenches, and pliers as needed. For the left leg, we will be using the internal L brackets, and we will begin by prepping these by installing set screws in each bracket. Each bracket requires 2 set screws. When prepping the L brackets, make sure that the set screws do not go past flush. This will prevent the L bracket from sliding into the rail, so if it is past flush, just back it off a few turns. Now that the L brackets have been prepped, we will take the longer upright legs G and H and connect them to M. This is a good time to pick the orientation of the rails, making sure that the quote-unquote nicer side faces out, noting this orientation before you begin the final assembly later in the build. Note how the L brackets slide into G and H. There are 2 different ways an L bracket can slide into the rail. Because of this reason, you want to make sure that the bracket fully slides into G and H. You'll see this noted as I had to flip one of the L brackets prior to it sliding fully into G and H and adjust its orientation. You'll also note that the L brackets face down, so the tail end will face towards the bottom of the upright, and the bracket is installed on the bottom side of M. You'll see this in the video here as I'm starting to assemble the leg. Please don't mind the hand motions. When setting the depth, you'll measure from the top of G or H, or actually G and H, down to M at 1.75 inches. So from the top of M to the top of G and to the top of H should be 1.75 inches. You'll see that I'm using a combination square here, which proved to be a lot easier than a tape measure or other measuring devices. One helpful tip is to get the set screws close, get your measurement pretty close or exact, hold it down in place so that everything is square, and then tighten as you go. There will be a chance most often throughout the build, whether it's a leg or another component, that you'll need to loosen and then retighten, possibly adjust or wiggle the part so that the mating surfaces are nice and square. You'll notice this as you start to tighten and go through the different assembly steps. You'll see me loosen and tighten this specific leg, and as we build other components, to adjust the squareness and to make sure that the surfaces are in fact mating correctly and that the brackets are correctly nested after tightening. And that's it. The left leg is now complete. We'll finish tightening, um, making sure that it's 100% square and as good as we can get it, and move on to the next left leg build. As we continue to build the second and third of each component, during this series and subsequent series of the instructions, there will be less audio in the second and third iterations of the builds. Please keep that in mind as the video progresses. As we do build each of the second and third iterations, we will definitely repeat the text instructions that are provided in parts 1. However, there will be less audio, and at times there will be some variations in how we do each build. This will give you an idea of different ways and different processes and how to go about the build. All right, the left leg build number 2 is now complete. Due to technical difficulties, we lost part 3 of the left leg build, so we will only be showing 2 parts of the left leg build in this series. Next up is going to be part 3. That's an entirely its own video, and we will move on to that next, which will be the right leg build. Congratulations on finishing the left leg. If you need a rewind, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, let's move on to part 3.